Number 14. Okay, so right now, I'll tell you what, let's do one. We'll go to 14 next. Let's do at least one or two with 45, 45. Start off with those. Stop. All right, let's do a 45, 45. Which one? 13? Is that 45? Yep. All right, that's a good one to do. You said 13, right? Okay. 13's actually, it looks like what they give you, that it would be a more difficult problem. It's actually one of the easier ones. I'll show you why. It's one of them. It's not exactly the easiest kind. Let's keep those on because I got a couple people taking a test. And it's a lot easier to see with the lights on. All right, so the right triangle looks like this. They tell you that this is 45 degrees right here. They tell you this is U, and this is V. And this is 8 square root of 2. Just the fact that they made that 8 square root of 2 kind of makes it look like it's a little more difficult, doesn't it? It kind of looks like it's more difficult, but watch how it works out real nice, okay? Do you remember the little formula? I'm going to write this down several times, and I'll write the 30, 60, 90 down several times. We've done that in the last couple days, right? 2 or 3 days. It's very, very important. I can't stress it enough. It's very, very important that you know these, all right? That you memorize these. You study for this quiz, and you know what these formulas are. So on a 45, 45, 90 triangle, everybody should know this formula at this point. Do you remember what it is? The hypotenuse is equal to what? Maddie, you with me? Looks like you're somewhere else. Up here. So the hypotenuse is equal to what? Square root of what? 2 times one of the legs. Which leg? Doesn't matter, because on a 45, 45, what's true about both legs? They're both the same anyway. So U and V are going to be the same answer, aren't they? Everybody see that? So make sure you understand that. All right? Okay, well, let's put the stuff in. What do I know? What's that 8 square root of 2? What is that on this triangle? It's the what? Base. We haven't used base. We use base when we're talking about the area of something. It's the hypotenuse. I got legs and hypotenuse when I'm talking 45, 45, 90 triangle. So this is the hypotenuse. So I'm going to put that right there. So 8 square root of 2 equals what? The square root of 2 times one of the legs. Which leg do you want to pick? V? All right, so we'll pick V. Doesn't make any difference, does it? Because U and V are the same thing anyway. All right? So what do I do to get V by itself? Very basic arithmetic, basic algebra. What do I do? Divide by the square root of 2. Because it's being multiplied, right? Do the opposite, which is division. And I got to divide the other side by the square root of 2. This is, it's kind of ugly looking. But anyway, what happens here? The square roots cancel out. What happens over here? Okay, but what? What I follow my thought process. I say the square root of 2's cancel out here, and what happens over here? The square root of 2's cancel out over here. I'm trying to give you a little push, right, for these answers. So V, like you said, is equal to 8. There you go. And what's U equal to? It's 8 as well. I don't have to redo it, right, because I know that they're both the same, so I just make them both 8. So on the quiz, when I give you something like this, I give it to you in 2 parts. You're going to have to find U and V, and you got to get them both right to get full credit for it. Everybody hear me on that? All right? So make sure you get them both right. Let's do another 30, 60, 90. I'm going to find one. Let's do number 14. This was 13. Okay, let's do number 14. Again, this is from the worksheet that I gave you. All right, let's draw this. Looks a little different, but it's still a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Oh, that's right. My bad. 13 was a 45. But let's go to 14, which is a 30, 60, 90. Okay? So we did 145. That's good enough. Let's do a 30, 60, 90. And they tell you this is 30 degrees. And they tell you this side is 12. This side is x, and this is y. I don't know, in my estimation, out of all these problems, like which one's the easiest, which one's the hardest, I'd probably say that this is one of the hardest ones out of all these problems, okay? So if you can do this one, you should be good. Now there's a couple other ones I want to hit too, all right? But this one looks, at first glance, it looks easier because it's just a regular 12 there, right? The other had a square root in it. Like, oh man, how am I going to do that? Well, we found out that that one was pretty easy. Why was it pretty easy? Because the square roots just cancel out. Everybody see that? All right. This one, it's a little bit more. You got to do a little bit more. All right, so let's do it. This is 30, 60, 90. So what is the formula? Not just one formula. How many formulas do we have on this one? We got two of them. All right, so the first formula starts with a hypotenuse as well. Remember, it always relates to the short side. So in this case, the 30, 60, 90, the hypotenuse is what? Twice the short leg. Okay? Everybody with me on that? So what's the second one? That's the long side, the long leg, I should say. I keep saying side today, I don't know why, but the long leg is equal to square root of 3. Good, you got to remember that number, square root of 3. Seems like it comes out of nowhere, square root of 3, but there is a reason. We didn't really go through why it is, but there is a reason why it's a square root of 3 times the what? The short leg again. Okay? Let's take a look. What do they give us here? What number do they give us? They give us 12, which is the what leg? Is it leg, hypotenuse? What is it? It's the long one, okay? If that's 30, that's 60, okay? That's the long leg. Y is the short leg. What is x? X is the hypotenuse, okay? So make sure you know which side is what. And then we're going to put it in here. So this is the long leg. What am I going to find? This is the only formula with a long leg in it, isn't it? So I'm going to find the short, aren't I? All right, so let's do it. Let's put the long leg. What is the long leg? It's 12 equals the square root of 3 times the short leg. What's the short leg on this one? It's y. We don't know what it is. That's what we're going to solve for, okay? That's pretty basic, isn't it? Everybody should be able to plug it into that formula. But you got to know the formula to begin with. If you don't know the formula, you're going to be sunk. Okay? You won't know what to do if you don't know the formulas. So know the formulas, know what side's what, plug it in, and now it's just math, all right? We already did this earlier, didn't we, with the other problem? Divide by what? This time it's a square root of 3, not a square root of 2, and then come over here and divide this by square root of 3. Now these square root of 3's cancel, but do these cancel right here? Does 3 go into 12? Can I do that? No, that's not a 3. Like, Mr. Hammer, it sure looks like a 3. Even when I was a little kid, I knew that was a 3. But it's not a 3. What is it? It's a square root of 3, which is a completely different number, okay? It's not a 3. So they do not cancel. But do I leave it like that then? Is that my answer? Do I leave it like that? Nope. The last couple days, what have we been harping on? You can't have a square root in the bottom. That's right. So I got a square root on the bottom. Can't have that. So I got to fix it. So what am I going to do? Multiply the bottom and the top by a square root of 3. So everything in red right there just boils down to a 1, doesn't it? Anything over itself. And I can multiply anything by a 1, can't I? And it doesn't change the value of it. So sure, this is all legal, all right? So what do we got here? Let's do the bottom first. Square root of 3 times square root of 3. It's just plain old 3. Good. We went through all that yesterday. Remember we did a whole bunch of those yesterday? All right. What about the top? How am I going to rewrite that? I don't want to write square root of 3, 12. I want the number, the whole number first. You got it. 12 times the square root of 3. Are we done now simplifying? Not quite. We got one little simple thing to do. What's that? Now this is a 3. Remember I said earlier that's not a 3? This is a 3 now. All right? So now 3 does go into 12, doesn't it? All right, so 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 12 what? 4 times. So let's write the answer nice and pretty. What's it going to look like? 4 square root of 3. So that's what y is equal to right there. It's equal to 4 times the square root of 3. That's probably the hardest problem that you'll have the whole entire quiz. Everybody got that? But really, was it that hard? Was it that difficult? It wasn't, okay? I had a couple extra steps here to simplify that square root. Okay, but once you know the steps, it's really not that difficult. And if that's the hardest problem, the others should be a lot better, right? Would you agree? Yeah. What about this one, the hypotenuse? Look, the hypotenuse is what? It's twice the short leg. Well, what's the short leg? 4 square root of 3. In your head, what's the hypotenuse going to be then? 8 square root of 3. That's right. You just double this. So you double 4, right? 2 times 4 is what? 8 square root of 3. So once you find the one, okay, the short leg, the others are usually pretty easy to find. Sometimes they give you the short leg. If they give you the short leg, yeah, that's a piece of cake. That's really easy to do. Okay, all I got to do is take that short one, multiply it by the square root of 3 to get this, and then double it to get this. But they don't always give you the short one, okay? If they give you the hypotenuse, that's the next easiest one. All right, if they give you the hypotenuse, how do I find the short leg? Take half of it, right? So if I divided that by 2, that would be 4 square root of 3, wouldn't it? Okay. And then you multiply this by the square root of 3 to get this. So what's 4 square root of 3 times the square root of 3? It's 4 times 3, 12, boom, there you go. I said a lot very quickly there. You can always go back, rewind it, listen to what I said. Okay, let's do another one. I'll give you a choice. You can choose. Which one? 17? Okay, let's do 17. Let's see. Looks like this. And like that. There's your right triangle. This is A and B right here and here. And they give you this as 2 square root of 2. And they tell you this is 60 degrees. If that's 60 degrees, this has got to be 30 degrees. All right, let's solve for A and B. So I'm going to write this again, all right? I'm kind of tired of writing this because I wrote these a bunch of times last period, and I'm writing them again here. So that's okay. 30, 60, 90, what is it? The hypotenuse is equal to what? Twice the short leg. Remember that? And I'll do this other one over here. The long leg is equal to the square root of 3 times the what? Short leg. Remember, they both relate to the short leg. This one's twice as big. This is the square root of 3 times as big. All right? So what do I know? I know the hypotenuse, don't I? So let's plug it in. 2 square root of 2 equals 2 times the short leg. What's the short leg in this picture right here? It's B. B is the short leg. How do I know it's the short one? Well, it looks a lot smaller than the other one. That's fine. That's okay. You can do that. Or it's opposite the 30, right? It's opposite the smaller angle. So it's got to be the smallest side. Now look, I plugged everything in. What's the math? Divide by 2, divide by 2. This one works out really nice. I don't have to simplify the square root, do I? Look what happens. The 2's cancel, and what am I left with? B is equal to what? The square root of 2. That's it. The square root of 2. Make sense? What about A? A is the long side, isn't it? The long leg. So I'm going to put an A right here. Equals, what is it? The square root of 3 times the short leg. Well, I just found the short leg. What is it? It's the square root of 2. How do I multiply those together? It multiplies probably exactly the way you think it should multiply. What do I do with that 3 and 2? Multiply them together, and I get a 6, don't I? All right. Can I simplify the square root of 6? Nope. That's your answer right there. So it looked, just because of that right there, it looked like it was a hard problem. But really, it ended up being pretty basic, didn't it? Especially since your 2's cancel right here. Right here, you just multiply a couple of things together. It's easy to multiply square root of 3 times square root of 2. And you're good to go. That's your answer. 16? All right. That's fine. 16. It's another 30, 60, 90. So it looks kind of like this. And this is 11 square root of 3. This is A. This is B. and this is 30 degrees. All right, that's everything they give you on the worksheet right there. And we have to solve for A and B. All right? Let's write it down again. All right? Have you been writing it down this many times? If you do, you'll have a tendency to remember it the more you write it down. So what's the hypotenuse? On a 30, 60, 90, the hypotenuse is what? Twice the short. Okay? What's the long side? Square root of 3 times the short. Okay? Everybody got that? All right. You better know these. There's no reason tomorrow that you forget these formulas. You've got to study them. Write them down a bunch of times. Okay? All right, let's see what we got here. What do they give us? That 11 square root of 3. What side is that? Is that the short, the long, or the hypotenuse? That's the long, okay, because there's the 60. It's opposite the 60. That's the long side. So I'm going to come over here and use this one right here. Since this is the long side, I'm going to put it into here. Everybody understand that, right? I can't put it into this, right, because I don't know the short or the hypotenuse. So I can't use this one just yet. I can only use this one. So the long side is 11 square root of 3 equals the square root of 3 times the short. Which one here is the short one? It's B, because it's opposite the 30 degree. All right, that's short. Now, watch what happens again. They make this kind of nice. Again, I'll say this, I've been saying this a lot today in the last class and this class. This looks like it's going to be kind of tougher because they put a square root of 3 there. But look what happens. By then putting a square root of 3, and I'm dividing by the square root of 3, check this out. Square root of 3's cancel. These square root of 3's cancel. What's B? 11. It's as easy as that. Everybody see that? So don't let these scare you off. All right? Because a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, they'll cancel each other out. And we're just left with a regular whole number. We good? Yeah. So what's the hypotenuse? Really, do we even have to put it into this thing? 22. It's 22 because the hypotenuse is twice the short leg. Short leg is 11. 2 times 11 is 22. And there's your answers right there. There's B and there's A. Seems like it's getting a lot easier, doesn't it? I don't know. Does it or not? Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I've been doing these for years and years. So, it's kind of easy for me. And I understand it's brand new for you guys. But I think the more and more we do these things, and that's why I gave you the worksheet, because I wanted you to have that extra practice, not just from the book. All right. You want to do one more? Let's do one more. Let's do a 45. Let's find a 45 that might be a little bit more difficult. I'm looking at number 6. Okay, that's a good one. I like that. Let's do number 6. Now, I'll tell you right now, the ones that I give you on the quiz are going to be relatively easy. I mean, there might be a couple you have to think about. But if you can do the stuff from this worksheet, you'll absolutely be fine on these with the quiz. All right? They tell you this is 2 square root of 6. Now, this one is a little different. I don't believe I give you anything like this on the quiz with a square root of 6. But let's do it. It's kind of cool to do. Now, this time it's a 45, 45, 90. We got to keep these formulas straight. Do you remember what the formula is for a 45, 45? Hypotenuse, again, is equal to what? Square root of 2. Right, we use the square root of 2 on a 45, 45, 90. Times what? Times the leg. And it doesn't matter which leg. Why? Because both of these legs are equal. Okay? What do we know here? Do I know a leg or do I know a hypotenuse? It's the hypotenuse, right. Why is it the hypotenuse? Because it's opposite the right angle. Excuse me. All right, so I put that in for hypotenuse. So I put 2 square root of 6. With me? Equals what? Square root of 2 times one of the legs. Doesn't matter which leg you pick. Let's pick X. Oh my goodness. Hope I'm not getting a cold again. All right, divide by the square root of 2. Divide by the square root of 2. That cancels, that cancels. Now, this is a little different. I don't think we've done this at all this year. I don't think we've done this one time. But we have done this. Watch. I'm off to the side here. These numbers don't relate to this. I'm just teaching you a little mini lesson here. Okay, a little mini algebra lesson. Everybody ready to learn some algebra? So I've got this. What if I had the square root of 3 times the square root of 5? What's that equal to? We've done something like that already today. The square root of what? 15. Good. Okay. What if I had this? What if I had the square root of 15 divided by the square root of 5? You got it. It's the square root of 3. Because the same thing here. Look, you got two square roots. What can you do? You can put them both under one big square root. Everybody see that? The 3 times the 5. I got two different square roots here. I'm dividing this time, so I could put them both under one big square root. So this would be what? 15 over 5, which is what? Square root of 3. Make sense? Now, let's look at this. I got the same situation here, don't I? Can you do that in your head? What is the square root of 6 divided by the square root of 2? Square root, not 4. You're dividing. It's division. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So it's 6 divided by what? 2. What's 6 divided by 2? It's 3. But it's under a square root, so it's what? 2 square root of 3. You guys aren't paying attention. Yeah, I can see. I can tell. You have no idea what I just said right there. You have no idea because you're not paying attention. You got nothing else to do. There's nothing else to do in here except listen and learn, and you're not doing either. Okay, well, that's your grade. So square root of 6 over square root of 2 is the square root of 3. All right? Everybody with me on that? So that is your answer. I think. What number am I doing? Yep, it's 2 square root of 3. Yep, that's 2 square root of 3. What's the other side without doing any math at all? 2 square root of 3, right, because it's a 45, 45, 90. There you go. I doubt I'll have this on the quiz. Doesn't mean you shouldn't learn it, right, because you're going to have to do this. When you take Algebra 2, you're going to have to do some stuff with square roots, and it's going to be pretty important. All right. That's enough of the worksheet. I'm done with the worksheet. Let's talk about the quiz. Everybody ready for the quiz? I'm basically only going to kind of go through half of the quiz with you because what we just did was half of the quiz, all right? So the stuff right there was basically from 6 to 10, all right? So let's just go through 1 through 5 right now just to remind ourselves how to do this. Do you remember? Man, I almost broke into song there. You're lucky I didn't. Anybody know that song? Do you remember the 21st night of September? Earth, Wind, and Fire? Man, I got a story about that. I won't tell it to you today. But nah. What's that? It might go off 1 point, depending on how far up you go. If you go one from the vertex, if you go 1 over and 1 up, that's not off the graph. If you go over 2, it will go just a little bit off the graph. Not much. Okay. All right. Anyway. What was I saying? Where are you going? I guess. My favorite question. Maybe I should stop saying this is my favorite question because maybe you're believing me and then everybody just wants to make me happy and ask me to go to the bathroom. All right. What was I trying to say? Do you remember the Pythagorean theorem? It's not as catchy as do you remember the 21st night of December? All right. It's the Pythagorean theorem. You remember what that is? It's a squared what? Plus b squared equals c squared. That's probably something you'll remember forever, or at least you'll come close to remembering it. Okay, ABC. So, let's do a couple of these. All right. We also had some Pythagorean triples. Do you remember those? Pythagorean triples. Here's two of them. I'll list two of them, okay? Because I forget the other two. There's more than that. I should remember them. Probably 7, 24, 25 is probably one of them. I just don't use them very often, but these two I use quite a bit. So watch. What's our first Pythagorean triple? 3, 4, 5. What's our other one? Do you remember the other one? 5, 12, 13. What does that mean? What are these numbers? What's going on? Well, if that's 3 and that's 4, what's this going to be right here? That's going to be 5 without doing any math at all. All right? You should know that that's 3, 4, 5. If I give you two of them, okay? Now, you got to be careful with that, though. Oops. What if I said this is 3 and this is 4? Would this be 5? Could it be 5? Question mark. That's right. The hypotenuse has to be the longest side. So if that's 3 and that's 4, that cannot be 5. So that would not be a 3, 4, 5 triangle. You with me on that? So it's only 3, 4, 5. If the two legs are 3 and 4, then the hypotenuse has to be what? 5. Make sense? Okay, what if I had this? What if I had 6 and 8? Is that a Pythagorean triple? You're like, no, it's not one of these. But what divides evenly into both of these? 2 does, right? 2 goes into 6 what? 3 times. 2 goes into 8 4 times. So what do you think this side's going to be? Without going through that whole Pythagorean theorem, this is 3, 4, 5, and 6, 8, 10 is just double 3, 4, 5. Would you agree? 6 is just double 3. 8 is doubled 4. So what's double 5? 10. So if I put 6 and 8, could you find 10? Okay, without going through that whole Pythagorean theorem? Yeah. Okay, the Pythagorean triples are really nice because they speed things up a little bit, right? They make things go a little bit quicker. You don't have to use the whole Pythagorean theorem. So, let me see what I want to do here. What if I had this? What if I had this as 5 and this is 13? Without doing any math at all. And I know I always harp all the time about you showing your work and all that kind of stuff. But here's a situation where you don't have to show your work. You could find that value right there just by looking at it. What is x equal to? 7? Where'd you get 12? From the Pythagorean triple, okay? Look, 5, 12, 13. If this is your hypotenuse, right? This 13 is your hypotenuse. This is a leg. This is your other leg. So what is x? It's 12. Okay, good question. Let's do the math. Let's say you did not remember the Pythagorean triple. Everybody with me on that? Let's say you didn't remember this. This is all blurry to you, okay? So what would you do? You'd do the Pythagorean theorem. So you take the two legs, the A and the B, square them, add them up, and you set it equal to the C squared. C is always the hypotenuse. It's always the longest one. So that's 13 squared. So let's do the math. Raise this up a little bit. So this is just going to be x squared plus 5 squared is what? No, squared. 5 squared. It's not 5 times 2. It's 5 times what? 5, which is 25, equals 13 squared. You may not know that off the top of your head. I do. So it's 169. Okay? Everybody with me on that? Okay, those are my two legs. I squared them, I added them up, and it's equal to the hypotenuse squared. So now I just subtract 25 from both sides. X squared, oops, come on, Mr. Penn. X squared is equal to, what's that? 144. Agreed? 9 minus 5 is 4, 6 minus 2 is 4, 1. Okay. Now what do we do? Is this 144? Is that equal to 144? No. What do I have to do here? I've got to square root it to get rid of that squared. So I got to square root the other side. What is the square root of 144? What number times itself is 144? That's 12. So guess what this is? 12. There's your 5, 12, 13 triangle. Everybody got that? Okay. Let's do another one. Let's do this. And let's make this x. Let's make this square root of 5. And let's say this is 5. Okay? Everybody with me? So what do? Is this a Pythagorean triple? No, not with a square root. Okay? So I got two sides. I got to find the third side. I don't know what those angles are or anything like that. Okay, but let's do it. What do? X squared plus square root of 5. What? Squared. That looks complicated, but it's not. It's really easy. Why is that really easy? They cancel each other out. That'll just be a 5, okay? So don't let that scare you off. Equals what? 5 squared. You with me? All right, I just put in the a, the b, and the c. X squared just stays x squared. What did we just say a second ago? That and that cancel each other out. That's just a 5. What's this equal to? 25. All right, subtract 5 from both sides. Everybody sees that? That cancels. X squared equals what? 20. What do I do to get the squared, or get rid of the square? Square root, square root. So you could write x equals 20. I will let you write your answer like that, okay? But this technically can be simplified, and I probably shouldn't allow you to write it like this. My honors classes, they have to simplify it. I should make you simplify it too. It's not that hard. But watch. What if you wanted to simplify it? There's a couple things that multiply to be 20, don't they? But one of them, it comes out to a number that you can take the square root of. So a lot of people might look at this and say, oh, 10 times 2. But can I take the square root of 10? No. Can I take the square root of 2? No. What else multiplies to be 20? 2 times 10, 1 times 20. We're not going to use that. What else multiplies to be 20? Do you know your multiplication tables? I was talking to a parent last night. They wanted to come here. Do you know why? The guy had a daughter who was in 4th or 5th grade, something like that. Do you know why? One of the reasons why he liked this school, because they taught the multiplication tables here. And a lot of schools don't do that anymore. All right? So it's important to know your multiplication tables. So what times what is 20? 4 times 5. Good. All right? Everybody see that? Last night we had like an open house thing. I don't know if you even knew that. We had this like big open house where all these people came in and stuff like that. All right. So now we've talked about this a little bit right here. We're going to go the other way though. Do you remember this is one big square root? We could break these up into little square roots. So I can make that the square root of 4, and I can make this what? Square root of 5. What is the square root of 4? It's 2. Whoops. It's 2 times what? The square root of 5. So that is the same exact thing as the square root of 20. This is the simplified version, okay? But I'm telling you right now, if you wrote x equals square root of 20, I'm okay with that. You can do that, all right? All right, enough of that. One more type of problem, and then we'll be done. So that was 1 through 3, okay? 1 to 3, you're going to have Pythagorean theorem problems, okay? And a couple of them are Pythagorean triples. All right, so I'm giving you huge hints here. The third one is kind of like what we just did. All right, so that's the stuff that you have to do with Pythagorean theorem. Now, 4 and 5, you're still kind of using Pythagorean theorem, but a little differently. So here's the question. They're going to give you 3 sides of a triangle, and you have to tell me, is that triangle a right triangle, an acute triangle, or obtuse? Remember this, don't you? And they just give you 3 sides. They don't give you any pictures or anything. They just give you 3 sides. Let's make up some numbers. Let's say one side is 5. Let's say one side is 7. So let's say, well, this is 12, so the third side's got to be smaller than 12, right? So let's make it 10. Okay? Just made that up off the top of my head. So these are three sides of a triangle. What kind of triangle is it? Is it a right triangle? Is it obtuse? Is it right? Well, let's figure it out. How do we do that? What I'm going to do is take that Pythagorean theorem and kind of reverse it a little bit. Instead of the A and B first, I'm going to put the C first. Well, no. It's either right, acute, or obtuse. It's got nothing to do with 45, 45, 30, 60, 90. Okay? So what I'm going to do is take the Pythagorean theorem and reverse it. I'm going to put the C squared first. And that's going to equal what? Well, actually, I'm not going to say equal. I'm going to leave it blank. Actually, let's put a question mark right there and say A squared plus B squared. How does that help me if it's right, acute, or obtuse? Well, if this question mark was an equal sign, what kind of a triangle would it be? What if the C squared, and which one is the C here? The 10 is the C, the 5 is the A, and the 7 is the B, all right? The longest side always has to be the C, all right? So that's what I want to do. If the C squared is equal to the A squared plus B squared, then it's a right triangle. Oops, I got rid of it. And what if the C squared was less than the A squared plus B squared? Then it would be an acute triangle. Remember, less than 90 degrees is an acute angle. That's how you remember it, right? And if it was greater than, then it would be an obtuse triangle. Let's try it. Let's see what happens, all right? I'm going to put that question mark back here because I don't know on this one what it is, all right? So what do we do first? What number do I take first? The 10. I take the longest side, and then I square it. Then I compare it to the other two sides squared and add it up. So I take that, and I square it, and I square that. I add them up, and then I got to see, is this equal to this? Is it less than or is it greater than? Well, let's do the numbers. What is 10 squared? It's 100. What's 5 squared? 25. What's 7 squared? 49. So what's that? 60, 74. Oops. So that's 74. This is 100. Now let's compare. Compare 100 to 74. 100 is what? Greater than 74. So what kind of triangle is this? It's an obtuse triangle. Okay? So you're going to have two of those. Numbers 4 and 5 on the quiz. You're going to have that. Now, do not just guess and write down obtuse triangle and nothing else. If you do that, even if the answer is right, if you just guess and write down obtuse triangle, I'm going to mark it wrong. You have to show me all this stuff right here. Okay? If you didn't, what would I always say? Show your work. Or sometimes I would say, how? How did you get this? All right? How did you get this answer? This is how, right here. You got to show me this in order to get that answer. We got it? And then numbers 6 through 9 is, it's all the 45, 45, oops, not 44, 45, 45, 90 triangle, and what's the other one? 30, 60, 90 triangles. Why can't I write numbers here? I'm a math teacher. Okay, there you go. Number 10, it's a mystery question. Mystery. Doesn't it sound intriguing? It's a mystery. Don't worry about it, okay? Don't fret about that, I promise you. It's kind of a freebie I give you. I just, I ran out of questions to ask on the quiz. I got to 9 questions. I'm like, well, if I give you another question, it'd just be a repeat, so I'm just going to give you a freebie. So this is a freebie. Let me collect that worksheet tomorrow because some of you guys still have to do it, and then the rest of you can use it to study from. Okay, so yeah, the 7.4a and b I will take. So if you haven't given me the 7.4a and b, I'll take that. The worksheet I'll take tomorrow, so don't throw it away. I will collect it tomorrow, the worksheet. So be ready for the quiz tomorrow, please. Study, study, study.